Hi, my name is Richard Crawford, host of Supply and Demand, an enlightening webcast show where we delve into the dynamic world of the global supply chain, where we navigate through the complexities, disruptions, and innovations that shape this vital network of interconnected businesses. From sourcing raw materials to delivering finished products, we'll uncover the challenges that arise at each stage and explore strategies for optimizing efficiency and sustainability. And each week, we'll highlight and discuss a specific supply chain event. And of course, I'm joined each week by my co-host and CEO of the Atlas Network and now author of the book Supply Chain Seesaw, Mr. Karim Kafuri. How are you, buddy?
Hey, Richard, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. We haven't chatted in a while.
I know. I missed you.
Oh, shucks. Oh, shucks.
No, I'm very excited to do another great show. We've obviously got a great series, which is all about sort of Mexico and nearshoring. We had Alberto Villarreal of Nepanoa. We
Yep.
had Sofia Rivas Herrera, who was on. And thank you so much for mentioning the book. It's exciting times for me. I've got Supply Chain Seesaw right here, which
There
is
you go. Fantastic.
coming out. It's at supplychainseesaw.com.
Yeah.
And what's interesting here is that, I have a whole chapter, which is chapter 11, which is basically dedicated to this idea of nearshoring and is closer really better.
Just to be clear, you're not filing for chapter 11. We're talking about chapter 11 in the book.
Right. I'm not filing for chapter 11. That's a good reference, by the way, but no, I'm not. But chapter 11 is all about nearshoring. And, it's interesting because the guest that we're going to have on today, Mr. Enrique Perret, we met actually at Manifest last year, and it was on this concept of nearshoring. And in the book, I sort of talk about, the important things that you need to consider when you're looking at an efficient and true nearshoring solution, from proximity, quick turnarounds, reduced shipping costs, regulatory oversights, which are positive, lower emissions, and then the challenges also that happen with nearshoring too, in terms of, production output, skilled workforce, technology to support the nearshoring solution. And, those are all very important and key considerations. So I'm very excited that we're going to have Enrique on here. Let's definitely bring him in and we can have a conversation about what's going on in his world.
All right, you've introduced him already, so let's bring him in, and I'll read out his bio here. So Enrique Perret is a key figure in strengthening U.S.-Mexico relations, currently serving as Executive Director of the U.S.-Mexico Foundation and President of the North Capital Forum. His past roles include Director of North America at ProMexico and Technical Secretary for Competitiveness. He's also active in civil society with board positions at Teach for Mexico, Reinserta, and other organizations, and leads Mexico on Movimiento. Enrique holds a bachelor's in international trade from Instituto Tecnológico de Estudios Superiores de Monterrey and a master's in economics and government from Universidad Anáhuac, with executive training from Harvard, Wharton, and SMU. And he's the executive producer of the acclaimed series Paris Mexican Table and La Frontera on PBS. Enrique, welcome to the show, and I apologize for butchering the Spanish language.
No, apologize. Thank you so much, Richard and Karim, to have me here. It's a very, very exciting moment, right? On the supply chain ecosystem.
Yeah. Things are really coming to the forefront. I mean, it's talked about more today than ever before. I feel like in the press.
A lot more. I think it's more. Nowadays, I talk with many entrepreneurs, right, around, the U.S.-Mexico ecosystem, and supply chains is now sexy, right? I mean, for the first time.
Well, look at the three guys on this screen. How can it not be sexy, Enrique? Look at this.
Exactly.
In the past, finally, we have our moment.
Finally, but because in the past it was fintech, it was crypto, it was healthcare and e-commerce, but the supply chain, in particular in manufacturing, wasn't sexy, right? Nobody in the entrepreneurial world in Silicon Valley, nobody expected to invest on on automotive supplies, right? But it is now. So we need to use this momentum wisely.
Right. So Enrique, you have a lot going on. I mean, we're very privileged to have you today because literally today you've been busy for about a year or years, but things are really heating up for you. Just give us a little background on what's going on right now.
So, I mean, at least on the Mexico-U.S. relationship or the North American bloc, I think we know for sure there is a huge relocalization moment. I think, but I still think, Richard, that there's still a lot of question marks, right? There is question marks on China. There are question marks on national security, on different industries like telecom and EVs and essential minerals. There are many question marks, and so I think our objective is to close the gap on those question marks, right? To have more knowledge, to have more data. What's the role of Mexico in this relocalization momentum? What's the role of Canada in this momentum? What could be the next USMCA agreement? As you know, we're going to have a review in 2026, and we need to tell the story of a success story, right? Why a agreement between three countries, in this case, US, Mexico, and Canada, has been successful in implementing those strategies to build a more reliable, more successful supply chain North America, right? In the automotive sector, but also in the agro business, and also in telecom and minerals and many other industries. So right now we are full in understanding what is happening all around and how the bloc can be more successsul.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I want to say real quick, also, I want to apologize for having a Scotsman speaking Spanish. My God.
Exactly.
I mean, geez, if it wasn't hard enough to understand the Scottish accent, now Scottish Spanish, like I've seen it all. We just hack it up. But
Yeah.
Enrique, good to see you as well again. The last time we saw each other was at Manifest, where
Right.
you moderated a great panel on nearshoring done right. It was a very exciting panel. Since then, we've had the last two guests on our show were Alberto Villarreal of Napanoa.
Yep.
And then also we had Sofia Rivas Herrera also, who was on the show. And so, it's kind of like the three-part series now of, this idea of nearshoring, Mexico, adoption, the pros, the cons, and everything that is in between. So, like as Richard said, having you on the show is a great segue. Before you came on, and I'll get you a copy of this. I have my new book out, which is called Supply Chain Seesaw. My whole entire chapter 11 is literally dedicated to nearshoring is closer, better, and there's a lot in here around basically Mexico. And as you sort of were talking about, United States, Mexico, Canada, trade agreements, what's happening with that, and kind of the future. So again, couldn't be happier to have you on the show, and very, very excited to kind of continue conversation. So again, just an honor for you to be on with us and a part of our show and the series that we're doing. It's such an important topic right now, and Mexico is such a great opportunity these days, more than ever before, in this very interesting and exciting supply chain evolution that we're having within our industry. So, again, just thanks for being here. Really appreciate it.
No, for sure. I think, and this, the word nearshoring for Mexico is now it's like everything, right? It was like BRICS for Brazil in the first decade of this century. And there are many other shorings, because I do believe, Karen, that the proximity is not enough right now, right? There are other elements that decision makers, the investors, are taking into consideration, and countries are taking into consideration. It's not only proximity. I think, and we talk a lot about this ally shoring concept, because we do believe national security, it's also a tremendous factor right now on things like semiconductors and essential minerals. And I know for sure that the U.S. is even willing to pay a higher price, but having national security. I mean, it's logic, right? They prefer to build semiconductors in Arizona, even though it's expensive to have it in Arizona or in Texas. I mean, compared to Taiwan, because you need to have a better supply chain. You need to have national security. So again, another question mark, is Mexico an ally of the US, or it's only a friend and a neighbor, right? If it's only a friend and a neighbor, well, proximity is your best factor. But if you're an ally, it's not only proximity, but there is a lot of trust in you, right?
Yeah.
And then there are other components, talent shoring, and you have heard about many other shorings, right?
Sure. Absolutely. And I agree with you 100% that as Mexico develops more and more of the trust and becomes, as you mentioned, the ally, that's really where the opportunities abound, because there is a gap in the market for that, where we just can't facilitate enough production safely and with those levels of trust and confidence in other parts of the world for very sensitive productions.
Yeah.
And so Mexico feeding into that or filling that gap, that's a massive opportunity to really create so many untapped, unique solutions.
Yeah.
So it's very, very exciting and thrilling. So we're excited to see where it goes from here. And with that said, Richard's going to probably take us into this next segment of our show where you're going to really give us your thoughts and opinions. Richard, why don't you tell the audience what we've got coming up with Enrique here?
Right. So we're now in the fun part of the show. Actually, I don't know if it's fun for the guest or not, but it's the hot seat. So Enrique, you're now about to be in the hot seat, and this is where we'll ask you 3 questions. And we'll have you answer them as close to 5 minutes as possible. Now, we have had a few reigning champions for a while. I believe you've only got 1 second or something. Didn't somebody do like 5 minutes and 1 second?
Yes,
So,
I think right. One.
Yeah. So it's a tough barometer to
So
beat.
I need to use the 5 minutes.
You don't, but if you're under, be under at 4:59 and a half, and then you'll
right.
win. Look, it's a fun segment. We get all the information out, and we just try to do it in an entertaining way. So there's not a lot of pressure. There's no grand prize, so you don't have to worry about missing out on any. We can't afford to pay any big grand prizes, so that's okay. But are you ready, my friend?
I'm ready.
I will ask you the first question. Kareem will ask you the second question, and then I'll ask you the third question. All right.
Okay.
And the stopwatch starts now. All right, Enrique, for members of the audience, can you explain the mission of the US Mexico Foundation and some of your current initiatives?
Perfect. So that's an easy one. So the mission of the U.S. Mexico Foundation is it's to bring together the U.S. Mexico countries, right? For many reasons, there is a lack of understanding between Mexico and U.S. Along the history of trade between Mexico and U.S., I mean, since 1994, when we signed the first agreement, we have seen a tremendous improvement on trade between Mexico and U.S. So we started with something around $35-40 billion in trade. Right now, we are around $900 billion in trade every year, right? But we didn't have the massive understanding between our two societies or 2 cultures along that growth of trade. So more interaction between companies, more interaction between entrepreneurs, more interaction in the border, more infrastructure in the border, but not a high understanding between our 2 societies. And you can see it everywhere. I mean, if you go here in Washington, if you go to the Capitol Hill and you make a a survey on, basic things on Mexico, the name of the president, the GDP for Mexico, the miles in the border, different name a town in the border between Mexico and US. Most of the decision makers will fail that survey. And the same thing in Mexico. I mean, if you ask Mexican legislators or Mexican decision makers about the population of the US, or where is Wisconsin, or what's the best product from Idaho, right? They will not answer that. So that's the main objective of the US-Mexico Foundation. How can you close that gap of information? And it's not now only disinformation, but it's also, or misinformation, is also disinformation, right? When you see some migration waves in the border of Mexico, even though there are more than 100 nationalities, there's always a crisis in the border. Everybody, I mean, most of the people in America see the news and they think we have a border crisis. Well, it is real, right? You do have those 5,000 immigrants trying to cross the border in a single day in a border cross, and it is real, and we need to take care of that. But it's only a part of the border, right? You have 1.2 million individual crossing every day in this 54 miles in very long border. You have more than 80,000 trucks crossing $1.5 billion in goods every day. So it's a very dynamic. How can we, through programs, Richard, public diplomacy, events, research, documents, how can you close that gap? I hope I'm close to the 5 minutes.
You have two more questions.
We have two more questions.
So 5 minutes for 3 questions. Okay. No, shit.
Question 2. What are some of the key reasons why Mexico is the logical choice when it comes to nearshoring or other shorings for supply chains? Okay,
this is easy. Let me give you 3 short answers. Talent, I think for me, talent is the best factor. 130,000 engineers graduated every year from Mexico. We do need the reskilling factor on those engineers, but you know that in the US there is a huge gap of employees right now. There's almost 1.5 vacancy per person looking for employees. So Mexico can be tremendous factor on talent, proximity, and that's why nearshoring. And then the third is this ally concept. Mexico can be a tremendous ally of the US if Mexico does their part and the US recognize that part. So those are the 3 main factors.
Very good. All right, last question. What do you see as key improvements between Mexico and the United States over the next few decades as it relates to global supply chain solutions?
This is the wish list. I hope we finally can have a unified aduanas, a unified customs. I think that's the next step after the agreement that we have already. The next step is a unified system of aduanas. If we achieve that, Richard, Karim, I think we can do tremendous stuff on security, on mobility, on many things, on using technology, infrastructure. That's the first one. And the second one is migration. I think we need to establish a better systems or rules of temporary worker programs for Mexicans in the agribusiness, but now in other different industries, from software development to automotive industry to energy. We need to have more labor mobility, and that's those two customs and labor mobility. Those two are the next steps for North America.
Fantastic. All right, you went over, but But you did think that the first question you had to do, and you
I
had the
thought it
whole
was
5 minutes.
5 minutes each,
But
right?
I will say this, Enrique. Everything you said was very captivating. So it's a good 6.5 minutes.
Okay, I won't receive the gold medal for this
But
Olympics,
but
but
but you
anyway.
will receive a lot of accolades for giving out really good information. So well done. The answers were very, very good. We appreciate that. I guess, just give us something that's happening here for you over the next few days. I know you're busy, so
Yeah, we're very busy. I think the most exciting part right now on my job here in the U.S. Mexico Foundation is the organization of the North Capital Forum, October the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 4th, Mexico City. This is our 3rd year. Last year, we had 750 stakeholders from all around North America, a big delegation from Canada, a big delegation from the U.S., companies like General Motors and 3M and Hewlett Packard and HP and Emerson and TC Energy and many other companies are participating. And this year is special because, as you know, Mexico elected the first female president ever in Mexico, and she's taking office the 1st of October. So so the environment in Mexico City is gonna be very dynamic, very happy to have that opportunity to bring the North Capital Forum to that scenario, right? So I'm super happy on that program. But we have many programs right now. We have 30 Mexican interns doing a 3-month internship in different companies in Washington. We are receiving today 16, 17 Mexican new legislators. They will take office the 1st of September, and we are trying to give them an overview of electromobility and energy transition and the USMCA review here in Washington. So yeah, we have our plate very full right now, but happy to do it.
Well, we will not keep you any longer today. Again, we're very appreciative of the time you've taken out of your day to join us today. But before we do go, Enrique, let people know how they can get a hold of you, whether it's personal, professional.
Well, all my social media accounts are Enrique Perret. So that's easy. The U.S. Mexico Foundation is basically U.S. Mexico Foundation, both in LinkedIn and Instagram. And go to the webpage, the www.usmexicofoundation.org. You can see a lot of studies on labor mobility, on cloud services, on SMEs, on ally shoring, on many different documents that we published in the past months, in the past years. Very useful for this conversation that we're having on supply chains. And also www.northcapitalforum.com if you want to participate in the event. I mean, it's very easy to go and register.
Fantastic. And Kareem, just a reminder of how people can get a hold of you, buddy.
Sure. I'm on LinkedIn like Enrique at Kareem Kafoury. My website is kareemkafoury.com. And for the book that we were talking about before, it's supplychainseesaw.com. I have to get Enrique a copy of that book for sure, and for maybe some of his guests at the North Capital event in Mexico City. Anyone else that needs supply chain solutions, our main organization is theatlasnetwork.com.
Fantastic. And of course, for our show, we thank all the ladies and gentlemen for listening and watching, and everybody that joins us. And you can catch us at the Supply and Demand Show on YouTube and LinkedIn. So thanks a lot, guys. Fantastic day. We really appreciate everyone being here. Thank you.